Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Friday, December 20th, 2024. Let's go and take a look at what we're tracking here for today as we're looking at definitely a hit and run cold snap coming down for this weekend before our big warm-up comes in for next week. And of course, with that Christmas warm-up, could see the threat of some thunderstorms back in the forecast, and we'll talk about whether any of that potentially could be severe. We'll talk about that in greater detail. And then we'll take a look at how the winter's looking for 2025. We're gonna look at the outlook for January, February, and March. Just came out yesterday. I'll give you a look at that as well. Now, before we get going, if you're new to the channel and you've recently subscribed, once again, thank you for doing so. And if you're that part out there, that 60% who have not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so we're alerted on future content. And as always, please help me out with a comment. Give me a thumbs up. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're seeing right here across the country as we got some snows coming in with that cold air across the Great Lakes. We'll see a little bit of snow here across portions of the Appalachians as well, and this will spread into the northeast. Seeing some activity back here toward the west as well, coming in here through Montana and going through portions of Wyoming, and it's staying busy out on the west coast. Got this one system coming in, and then we got another one back behind this one, so it's going to stay pretty active up here along the Pacific Northwest down to Northern California as this flow continues. Now, looking currently at our watches and warnings, we have numerous winter weather advisories, obviously with the cold air coming down with the Appalachians from West Virginia down to North Carolina. Also seeing some across areas of Michigan, Wisconsin, even portions of New York as well. A little foggy out here toward the west and a couple of foggy zones down here across Texas and Florida to begin our day here on your Friday. Now, so take a look at our surface map. Here's our cold Arctic air coming down. And you can see temperatures here below zero up here in the Dakotas and into Minnesota. And this is driving down toward the south. So it's going to make for a very blustery weekend for the eastern half of the United States. As we said, it's going to be hit and run. It'll be milder out here toward the west. And boy, it's going to stay active out here on the west coast for several days. In fact, it's probably the only location we're going to see across the country, at least for the next few days, where we're going to see maybe a few rumbles of thunder. Now, going a little closer here, seeing some of the snow here coming across Pittsburgh. Not very heavy, but occasional moderate little bursts of snow coming through this area as we're watching all that snow coming up through the Great Lakes. And it'll continue to snow on and off here throughout the day for today. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at the list from the Storms Prediction Center, as I just mentioned there, we're going to be looking at very slight risk for seeing thunderstorms. Everything's going to be out on the west coast. Kind of unusual to see this, but for several days in a row, we're going to see chances of seeing some thunderstorms out here on the west coast. So you see that little sliver, and I mean it's a sliver too, right there along the Oregon and California coast. That's what we're seeing here for your day one outlook here for your Friday. Now, as we take a look at the day two outlook, it pretty much stays right there, right along the Oregon and into California coast going into your day two for Saturday. And that'll continue even into your Sunday. That going further up the coast, though, you notice we're going up here toward Washington State and mostly up here toward Oregon as well. So that's where our hot zone is going to be for potential rumbles of thunder. The rest of the country is quiet for the moment because I don't expect it to remain that way. And I'll explain why here in a little bit further into this presentation. Now, what I also think is interesting is that while we're having that onshore flow out on the west coast, not seeing anything that's up to levels that would garner an excessive rainfall outlook. In other words, where it's causing flash flooding. It's steady enough, but not overly heavy to the point where we're going to see flooding to be a concern. So the next 3 days, the excessive rainfall outlook is staying quiet. Less than a 5% chance of seeing any kind of flooding hitting that guidelines here. Now, as far as the hazards outlook, everything's out on the west coast here for the 3 to 7 day period. Right through there, we're looking at a multitude of things. Heavy rain, you're looking at heavy precipitation, you're looking at heavy mountain snows, and a little bit breezy out there as well. Everything that taking place over the next 3 to 7 days, as that's where the predominant track's going to be here with the storm systems coming in off the Pacific coast. So that is our main hot spot. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our latest high resolution model. This is your short range model here, taking you for the next 40 hours or so. Obviously, the two areas we're going to be watching is this zone here across the Great Lakes, as this is coming down this way, bringing in those colder temperatures. Got a little system up here, and then of course the west coast is going to stay active as well here over the next day and a half or so. So as we go ahead and put this into motion, you're seeing that swirl coming on down. We'll see some pretty decent snows here across portions of West Virginia. That's for sure. With that snow coming in here, you're seeing the snows across the Great Lakes. Little snows there across the Dakotas, and activity picking up out there on the west coast as we go throughout the day, late today on your Friday. And as we go into your Saturday, we'll see things begin to improve across the Northeast, but check out the West Coast. That's really the main action as that next storm system, which is offshore, comes on in. Some pretty decent rains there from Oregon down into Northern California as that system works its way inland. And that'll press inland as we go throughout the day on your Saturday. So pressing into the interior sections, getting up into Idaho. So it looks like we're getting some pretty good snows there across the higher elevations across Idaho, going into your late in the day on your Saturday. And as we go into Saturday night, this goes up till midnight. You'll see that what moves well inland here across areas of Montana and moving inland, and we'll wait for that next system to come in. But most of the country going in towards Sunday, not looking bad. So for travelers, obviously busy travel weekend. We're right before Christmas. It's not looking too bad out there for right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the jet stream. The jet stream, you know, that's that river air out there that kind of drives all our weather systems across the country. And you notice we've got a very pronounced dip here in the jet stream. This is our cold shot coming in here for the weekend. But it's going to be short-lived as this is going to move on out. And then we're going to be tracking a series of smaller systems. The one thing's going to be for sure, as this pulls on out, the bulk of the country is going to really warm up here substantially. We've got a very zonal Pacific flow that's going to be taking place here, and temperatures are going to be quite mild after Christmas next week. So what that's going to mean is watch these little disturbances that are going to kind of come up in here. We got this little disturbance coming into our Christmas Day, coming across the south. We got another one back here toward Southern California that'll be kicking on out. And with it getting so mild, either one of these things can fire up some, you know, maybe some thunderstorms here and there. And I'm going to show you another indication of that as well. So as we head toward the 27th, here's one little disturbance here. Here's another one back here kicking out. And they're all minor systems, okay? Until we get toward New Year's, it looks like we'll see something a little more substantial. Seeing a little cutoff low here, kind of burying itself down into Mexico there. Still very much a zonal flow. It's going to stay warm right into the 29th. Not only is it going to be warm across the continental United States, even Canada is going to be seeing temperatures unusually mild for getting the late December standards. Then as we go toward the 31st, we start to see some changes here as we start to see, looks like finally seeing a dip in the jet stream here as we'll see cold air come on down here across the United States as we go into the new year. Going into 2025, it looks like we'll finally get some cold air back in here. So it looks like we got about a week of some mild weather in there, and then we'll see colder temperatures return across the nation as we go in toward the 3rd and 4th. So getting more, at least more seasonable looking. But again, for the most part, the cold Arctic air is really not that bad up into Canada again for this time of year. Let's go ahead and look at your precipitation again. We're going to watch that snow kind of come across the Northeast as we go into the Saturday. Moving on out. Obviously, we'll have some rains and higher mountain snows out here in the west going throughout the day on your Saturday, going into the 21st and going into the 22nd. That'll move on inland. And again, going into Monday, not looking too bad other than the interior sections out here in the west. Again, you're talking about Atlanta, Hartsville, Jackson, JFK, going up to Chicago, traveling on the 23rd. Not looking bad. If you got any flights heading out anywhere across the country, not looking too bad there. We got a little system moving into the Northeast on Christmas Eve, so we got a little snow falling here across areas of the Northeast on Christmas Eve. Kind of put you in holiday spirit. Maybe some higher elevation snows out here in the west as well on Christmas Eve. So this will move on out. And as far as Christmas Day is concerned, doesn't look like all that much. Looks like the only place I'm seeing maybe a little snow is out here across Utah and Colorado. We got a little bit of rain here across the southeast as well, going into the 25th. Then as we continue to move on, that moves on off. This little system moves on there. Some of these will be in a form of some thunderstorms here. I don't think they'll be severe with that one just yet. But again, we'll see rain very far south. Look at that. I've seen rain up here across the Great Lakes in late December. That is so unusual to see. Got some snows in the interior sections there across Idaho and Washington State as we head toward the 28th. That's the following weekend, following obviously this current weekend. And it stays warm all week. Then we got a system coming on here. This one has to be watched going in toward the 1st. This one potentially could set up some thunderstorms and marginal risk of severe weather, maybe a slight risk there as we got the cold air plowing down behind this system here that could set up a few thunderstorms there. So we'll have to watch that closely going into the 1st. And this will push off toward the east here. So again, as we go toward the 1st, the southeast portion of the United States could see a potential for some active weather there as that's a pretty good trough coming in here, and it'll be fairly warm out ahead of that system too. So definitely could see some thunderstorms there, and then this pushes on out. It looks like we'll see the cold air return, get the Great Lakes lake effect machines going again, and we got the cold air coming back down here as we go in toward the 3rd and the 4th. So again, this is a projection right now. As anything beyond about 10 days, 7 to 10 days, you're kind of extrapolating at that point to see how it goes. Now, I do want to talk about the thunderstorm risk here with this. I'm looking at the K index. This kind of gives you an idea of where thunderstorms are going to fall. We're not going to get all the fancy wordness on this, but kind of gives you looks at different parameters to see when you can make it some thunder and lightning. We got a little bit of that on the West Coast here for the weekend, but really it's interesting to me is here you head toward the 24th, we may get a few rumbles of thunder down here across the south central portion of the United States. And that's with that initial little weak system there coming on through. Maybe a little thunder there as well. And then look at what happens here. I mean, you're getting indications. You're going to hear the cross here across the south going into the 28th again with some thunder and some lightning with that as well. And then as this next big system comes on through, this is the one I'll be watching very closely because I think this is the one you're seeing that surge coming in here where we might see some severe weather here across portions of Alabama, Georgia, and going to the Florida Gulf Coast. It's going in toward January 1st. So again, this is a projection this far out, but seeing even when you get some thunder that far north is just unreal because it's how unseasonably mild it's going to be out ahead of this next storm system. So that's something I'll be watching very closely here as we get ready to wrap up 2024 and head into 2025. Let's look at the precipitation totals here. Again, we're going to go out here for the next few days. You notice a lot of activity out on the West Coast. Obviously, this stuff here across the Great Lakes here for this weekend. This will be obviously in the form of snow across this zone. We'll show you those snow totals here in a second. They're not overly that bad. And then we'll see this continue right into this, the weekend as it stays rainy out on the weekend. Then heading to the 24th and 25th, obviously we get some rain here across Arkansas, Texas, parts of Mississippi with that little disturbance there coming in toward the 25th and 26th. And this will continue on to the 28th, and we'll take this all the way out to 240. Again, that's my rule. I don't like going beyond about 10 days on rain totals here. You see some rain coverage down here, very heavy rains over several days from Northern California, Oregon, and Washington State. It will continue there through the 30th or 29th and heading into the 30th there of December. Let's talk about snowfall totals. Again, this is not overly dramatic. We get a little bit of snow here for the weekend. Again, it's isolated totals maybe upwards of 4 to 5 inches, but generally staying under 6 inches for the most part. Little snows out here in the west as well. And as we go in toward Christmas Day, let's take a look at that. Obviously, we get a little bit of snow coming in here across the Great Lakes. There it is, going into Christmas Eve. We got the little disturbance coming on through Michigan and going into New York. So we'll get some more snows there on Christmas Eve. We'll get a little snows out here in the higher elevations out in the west as well on Christmas Eve. But Christmas Day looks like predominantly it'll be across the mountains. So on Christmas Day, maybe you get a few snow showers out there in the intermountain higher elevations, but that's about it. And we'll take this all the way out to 240 here. Not really seeing a whole lot of snows. The heavy snows are obviously going to be confined to the higher elevations of the Cascades and the Sierra Nevada because of that persistent onshore flow coming out there in the Pacific. So that will continue to be that way. All right, let's finally take a look here at the temperature anomaly map. The big story part of this is just how unusually mild it's going to be. You notice here as we start the mile, we're looking, Canada's looking at below normal temperatures up there for right now, but it's going to warm up there big time where they may be setting some record highs going into next week, toward the end of next week. But here's the dump coming in across this weekend across the eastern half of the United States. You see that right there. In the west, we're seeing above normal temperatures once again. We've been tracking that for a few days now. So as this moves on off through the weekend, we'll see things begin to warm up. It'll hold up cool right through, going right through Monday, right along the East Coast. And then this kind of moves on off here. But look what happens up here in Canada, boy. We're talking unseasonably warm temperatures well above where they're supposed to be for late December standards are right now, as well as the continental United States also looking with above normal temperatures for next week through the 27th to the 28th. It is very, very warm, 28th to 29th, right around Lake Hudson. I mean, this is really, really unusual to see. We got below normal temperatures across Alaska showing up there going into the 29th, but Canada itself is looking very, very mild indeed. It will take us all the way out as we're going to expect the colder temperatures to return. There it comes. What's interesting is we're getting colder temperatures that are coming down in the United States, but by Canadian standards, it's still above normal for what they're supposed to be for this time of year. So this goes in toward the 3rd. It will get a dump. It looks like as we head toward maybe the 3rd or 4th, most of the nation's either below average or near normal. So it looks like through about the 1st or 2nd, the way it's trending right now, we will see temperatures running above normal, and then we should see them back off as we begin the new year. So let's go ahead and wrap this up and take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is showing us, including that winter outlook for January. February and March. Obviously, this December 25th through the 9th, we're very mild from coast to coast here as we look at the latest there, and that'll continue going into the 27th through the 2nd. Now, beyond the 2nd, at least look at the European models, this should begin to change color. So you should see temperatures backing up to more normal levels or getting a little bit below average. But again, now beyond the 2nd there. Now, as far as precipitation, we're looking fairly active here. It looks like that'll continue to stay the 25th to the 29th there on the 6 to 10 day. And then on the 8th to 14th, we're looking a pretty decent chance of seeing rains from coast to coast, except for this dry zone here across areas of the southwest Southern California back over toward Texas. Now, as far as the winter outlook, this just came out yesterday, so here's the outlook here. Again, going from January, February, March, we're seeing above normal temperatures here in the east and in the south and in the southern tier of the United States, below average here. This is a typical La Nina forecast, folks. I'll tell you that right now. This is very textbook here, where we're milder here and colder up here. Now, as far as the precipitation chances, one thing I will say for you snow lovers here across portions of the Great Lakes, this should see more snow in this general area with this current weather pattern, but below normal precipitation expected for the southeast and across the south central United States into the southwest. That's what we're looking at right now on this latest outlook for January, February, and into your March. So we've got to get through this weekend. We've got to get through the weekend. Obviously, we're going to be dealing with the cold, chilly weather, a little bit of snow out there. And then we got to deal with what's going to happen next week with the unusually warm weather. Minor systems in there could set off a few thunderstorms, low risk for severe weather. But if that big storm system gets cracked up as we head toward January 1st, maybe a higher chance of seeing some active severe weather, especially across the south as we get ready to enter into 2025. Can't believe we're already there. All right, that's your update for now. Again, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you learn on future content. And if you like what you see, please leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate you guys helping support the channel. All right, that's your update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.